Today we are going to learn how to partition rectangles into halves, thirds, and fourths. So I'm going to start with the halves. So I'm going to partition my first rectangle just straight down the middle. 1, 2, 2 parts. So I'm going to label them 1/2, 1/2. I can also write this as 1/2. So my fraction for partitioning this rectangle into halves is 1/2. Now I'm going to come over here and do the next one. I'm going to partition using a row. 1/2, 1/2. So I can label this one 1/2, 1/2. Now I'm going to partition it again in a different way. So I have 1/2 and 1/2. This gives me 2 halves. So those are 3 ways to partition halves. Let's go on to thirds. I'm going to partition this one into thirds using my rows, or my columns, excuse me. Notice I only put 2 columns to give me 1, 2, 3, to give me thirds. I'm going to label this one 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I can also write 1/3 as 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. We'll partition this one using rows. This is 1/3. This is 1/3. And this one is 1/3. I have 1 out of 3 parts. This is my first one out of 3 parts, 1 out of 3 parts, and 1 out of 3 parts. Well, let's partition into fourths. So before we did halves. So I just split it down the middle again. And now I'm going to create 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to label those parts as 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. This gives me 4/4. Now I'm going to do this one again, and this time I'm going to split down the middle and then go across. So I have 4 equal parts. This one is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and then 1/4. And I'm going to partition it again, but this time I'm going to use rows. So again, I'm going to split it down the middle, and then again, and again. Notice I didn't do 4 rows, I did 3 rows that I created. This gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. So there you have it. There are different ways to partition these rectangles into halves, thirds, and fourths. So now it's your turn to try your hand at partitioning in different ways. You have 4 rectangles under your independent practice. Good luck partitioning these rectangles into halves, thirds, and fourths. You got this. We cannot wait to see the great work that you are doing in math.